Well, it's great to be with everybody today. Excited and privileged actually to introduce somebody that's become a pretty fast friend over the last 2 or 3 months. And we've been able to work through creating some amazing opportunities to collaborate together. And so today it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Kyle Alexander. Kyle, very happy to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really a pleasure to be here, and a pleasure to know you this short time. Feels like you've known somebody a little bit longer, so I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, that can be a curse and a blessing, right?
Right.
Sometimes, we're like, wow, it seems like it's been a really long time. And, I appreciate the fact that you're a family man and obviously somebody that I've really found to be a genuine, kind-hearted person. And, I hate to say it, but that's really hard to find these days, particularly in business. So that's really, truly an honor and so very thankful for that opportunity. And Kyle, I know we've had various conversations. You're now a user of our program and have gone through at least some of the initial steps as far as onboarding and training and coaching. But also we've now developed an affiliate relationship, given that you are an influencer in a very unique space. And it's an area that I think a lot of people are going to want to hear about because it's become one of the most commonly searched items, if you will, in terms of product or service, I suppose, if you'd like to represent it that way. And so I'd like you to talk a little bit about maybe first a little bit about yourself and your background, your family, where you're from, of course, and then what it is that you're working on currently that you've gotten so excited about and built a lot of momentum on, and some various things that you think would be important for our audience to know a little bit about that particular field of expertise.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Kyle Alexander. I'm originally from Southern California, where I was born and raised. I went to college in Alabama, and then I moved to Maryland. I guess don't ask me why now. I can maybe explain
Oh
later.
yeah, that's a longer story,
I
guys.
moved to Maryland after college and met my wife eventually, and we have our first child now, and so that's where we're in the thick of some new stuff, but I'm super grateful. I am a musician, I would say, first and foremost, and a sound engineer, and different things like that. And
That's why you
yeah,
have all the inside tricks about sound and lighting and all this stuff.
yeah,
You're talking to me
yeah.
about.
I have a technical leaning for sure. Some of my day job was in audio engineering, so doing government jobs and audio for companies and churches and things like that. In being a musician, I realized at some point that in order to have a really solid track to significant generational wealth and freedom, like I wanted to depend on something else aside from my art alone, to be able to do that, so that I could be free to do the art how I want to and where I want to. And so that's what kind of put me on the path of, okay, well, what's going to be the most secure and fastest way to get in that direction. So in 2021, pretty much at the very beginning, I poured myself into studying real estate and entrepreneurship, personal development, and became a personal development coach and studied with other
Wow.
people, learned a lot about, human behavior and things like that, and joined a lot of real estate groups and learned so many different things. And one linchpin that was running throughout all of that, in my first course that I took, I learned about business credit, which I had never heard of before. And I guess as now that I'm in it, I realize, yeah, a lot of people were just like me and just had no idea that this existed.
This is that same window
Um,
of time, 2021,
there's
basically.
that same window of time, yeah, 2021, where I took my first real estate course, and there was a subsection on business credit, so that introduced me to it. And there's long story short, I went down the rabbit hole, and between my wife and myself, we secured $500,000 of business credit for ourselves.
On your own.
Well, so we worked with a couple different companies,
Okay.
right? And some bumps and bruises along the way and things like that. But the end result was we had over 500,000 to be able to use for
Hmm.
mentorships and for different investments and for just carrying costs for projects and all sorts of things. And it's been such a huge benefit to be able to have that. So I went in to study it even further to say, okay, well, this is something that I did. Because I was very busy, just in life in general. That's why I engaged companies to be able to basically kind of help me do most of it, do most of the lifting on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, how can I do this for people but do it better? So that's when I started studying it. And now that's what I offer to people, either the kind of advice and consulting to say, hey, this is how you can go about it. And I know so many different ways, depending on the person's makeup or like what your goals are and things like that. And I have a personal concern for people to have a good path towards freedom, and that looks different for a lot of people. So I pride myself in being able to, pinpoint, like, for this particular person, this is good for you, because not every solution is good for everybody. Even if that comes through me directly, then great. If not, then as long as it's like a good match for the person, that's what I really care about. So,
That's really, really good, Kyle. And, just from an overarching, maybe 15, 20, 30,000 foot view at this point, what are some of maybe the top three misnomers about quote unquote business credit, and or perhaps a couple of the primary real genuine powerful benefits that maybe people don't even truly understand? What does that look like from your experience now?
Sure. I would say the biggest thing to understand, right? So what is business credit is probably the first thing. And like I said, I didn't know what it was when I first explored it. But the biggest difference is that this is based on your business, and it's not tied to your personal credit report, right? So, and in short, like if I have a business credit card, I mean, that's the other thing too, is knowing the different types of business credit and what it takes to get them, because you'll see a lot of different information, all of which can be useful, but it's good to know what's a good fit for you, right? So if I have a business credit card and I have a $10,000 limit and I make $9,000 worth of purchases, typically what would you think happens to your credit score, right? Credit score is going to tank, right? If you've used, almost all of your available credit. On the business side, if that account is not reporting to my personal credit, then I can use that same $9,000 and my personal credit stays intact, that nothing shows up there at all. So this is a way to be able to do certain things. And there's a lot of business owners even that are using their personal money to float costs and pay contractors and do different things like that, that where if they were using business credit, their personal credit could be freed up. And now when they go to buy a house, or when they go to, qualify for a loan or something like that on the personal side, that side is more clean. You know what I mean? So that's one of the biggest things. The other thing is that the limits on the business side are a lot higher. So where I might get a personal card for $8,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, on the business side, you can get $10,000 as a lower side and maybe $15,000, $20,000. One of my clients, I just got a $50,000 business credit card and a $25,000 business credit card in the same swoop. Wow. So those amounts are a lot higher and a lot more powerful to be able to use, and you still get the benefit of a credit card, which you have these sign-on bonuses, and you have these promotional APR periods where you get 0% interest for a time. It might be 12 months, it might be 6 months, it might be 18 months.
There's always going to be unique variables in each individual situation, but how long, generally speaking, as a rule, does it take most people from, inception, first engagement, consultation with you, to getting maybe their first, round of funding? What generally is a fair, reasonable, predictable time frame?
Right. So let's take two parts, right? So part one would be the person that is completely ready on their personal side, and we can just talk briefly about what that is. And I have documentation I can share and things like that kind of go over that. But it's the first clue is if you have above a 700 credit score, you're probably in the ballpark, right? That means, and no derogatories, no collections.
And that's middle score, all scores. What does that typically look like?
On average. Now this is going to vary because each bank is going to pull from a certain credit bureau in order to make their determination.
So you're safe if all of them are above 700 is a safer bet.
Right. So there are some strategies where for some reason someone's TransUnion has a bunch of stuff on it and it's messed up and fighting it, but then the other ones are fine. You can actually still get funding, if you target the banks that are pulling from the specific ones. So that's a part of the consultation process to kind of know, okay, what's the best funding sequence for an individual, right? So I don't know what was it you were asking that I
Just
was.
about how long from, the two different
Oh,
sides,
right,
one if
right.
their
So
profiles are
let's
ready
say
versus
the
not.
person is fully ready, right? So the person that's like fully ready is they have a business already, right? Maybe
Mhm.
it's been open for a while. The business, it has a legitimate presence online. They have an office space, a physical location, and their personal credit is good. They've got above 700. They have multiple credit cards that they have not that much utilization on. The credit cards are between 5 to 15,000 limits each. That person, we could go in probably 4 days and get that person $100,000. That would
Hmm.
be super quick. I would say
Okay.
next, the average person is a person that has good credit, but they don't necessarily either, maybe they don't have an LLC at all, or maybe they do have an LLC, but it's not really structured properly. So it
Okay.
might take us maybe a couple of weeks for that person to just make a few moves and get things tightened up until we're ready to go for
But
funding.
again, dependent upon their personal profile, obviously.
Depending on the personal profile, some slight tweaks. And I would say for most people that haven't had anything really crazy going on or derogatory, they might just have a little bit more utilization than is suggested.
Okay.
So maybe they're using 40% of their available credit or
And it
50%.
should be relatively below 30 if they
So
can.
below 30 is the minimum, right? So
Oh,
for our clients, we want them below 10%, right? To be
oh,
able to
okay.
get the highest possible limits on the business side.
Which that's part of the
Lower amount.
oxymoron, right? Because most of the people that are looking to utilize potentially additional funding probably is because they're already somewhat
Right.
tapped out on their access to a
So
debt. It's a
and
little bit of a
it's the paradox because they give money to people that look like they don't need it.
so switching gears, you know, having access to capital is an amazing thing. However, if not utilized responsibly, it could be a little like it's great to have a lot of food in your house, but if you don't have a lot of discipline and you have a problem with managing, eating proportionally, it also creates the easiest opportunity in the world to gain 20 or 30 pounds. So that's one of the reasons that we've talked so closely, is because it's a matter of using this resource. Yes, some are going to use it for consolidating purposes and et cetera. It's not that we would say they wouldn't unless they have a strategy that's going to help absolve that over time. But a lot of people, I'm sure you see this, they want to get the money and go, oh, I've got access to, zero interest credit for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and I'm going to go on a vacation, et cetera. And it's not as if, we're telling people how they should live their lives, but it really needs to be investment orientated, right? A means to an end, right? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's probably the part B answer to your last question about if you want to work with somebody that, I guess does care at least a little bit about what you're doing with the money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I will advise somebody, if they don't have, depending on the type of plan that they have business wise, I might advise somebody on a strategy that is going to be maybe less expense for them, but it might have less results.
Right. Okay.
And so they
Right.
might have 30, 40,000 at the end of it, but they only came out of pocket this much because they didn't really have a solid plan for, when I get this $40,000, this is what I'm going to do to leverage it to build it up. There's some people that if you give them access to $500,000 and they had to pay a big amount for it, having access to that much, they would be able to turn that into $1 million in 6 months. Now, the thing about business credit is you can, if you have the right plan and the right mentorship, right? I think mentorship is really, really important. Like, mentorship is the shortcut.
Right.
If you approach it properly, if you can have direct access to the person who can tell you exactly how to do this strategy, where you can make a certain amount of money or use this skill or start this business, whatever the case, then that's always going to be a lot more powerful than just browsing YouTube and trying to figure things out, right? Now, it's possible to do, but you got to know yourself and say, am I the type of person that can really execute? Or do I need to be talking to one person that I can ask questions, like they know the ins and outs, they know the mistakes? Sure. Now, for that person may cost $5,000 for their program. It may cost $10,000. It may cost $20,000. The average person may not have $20,000 to just give to the right mentor, right? For the right opportunity. But if I have 5 credit cards of $25,000 each, or I got a $50,000 card, and I can invest that into the right person, do the work, studies, learn the strategy, implement, and then now 6 months from now, I've 5x my money, or you know what I mean? then that is the thing that makes sense.
And that's what you and your wife obviously did. Obviously invested a lot into mentorship and training and coaching to get to this point. Thing. Yep. And, which dovetails perfectly into our last little segue, I suppose, is that, you obviously have the ability with this knowledge, with this experience, with this training and coaching and mentoring, and obviously going down this specific road and learning and mastering how to be able to not only secure, but maximize the use of business credit and so forth. And then you somehow stumbled in our universe and we're learning a little bit about velocity banking, and then more specifically and a little bit more granularly, the MMA and the Money Max account, and exactly how it can be that financial steward, that coach, that accountability partner that now provides that guidance, that financial foresight to understand the impact of potential spending or investments we make, right? Where we dedicate dollars to, what the real cost of that's going to be. How has that helped to grow and perhaps shift and even evolve, the scope of what you feel that you're able to do, being able to secure business credit and obviously be able to pursue various, worthwhile investment opportunities with it?
Yeah, I think it's really important what you guys do and what you offer. For that reason that you said, is being able to have a picture of where you are, of where you're going, and to be able to make intelligent moves going forward, right?
Yeah.
So I think and that's part of what I was saying about mastering your personal finances, your personal credit. I think that's a great tool to just put it in front of your face, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is when I do this, it impacts this. Like, having that mindset to begin with, I think is great. And that avoids you getting that kitchen full of cookies and not just going crazy.
The goal really is, even though our program is like a debt eating machine, right? It's got one focus, like GPS, to get you from A to B. Well, it's got one dedicated focus, which is to eliminate debt as quickly as possible and by paying the least amount to do it, canceling the most interest to do it. But it's not just about getting out of debt. It's being able to leverage the benefit of getting out of debt to ultimately build and accumulate wealth, right? So this is part and parcel to that, being able to now have access to additional resources or additional capital that can be now effectively leveraged and utilized to not only get out of debt more quickly by reducing effective interest and all those things, but now being able to parlay that towards building wealth in what could be a fraction of the time. And that's why we've got a lot of other affiliate partners that work in various ways, whether it's wealth building through, properly structured overfunded insurance contract opportunities and initiatives, real estate investment opportunities, and others. So I think it really just creates a perfect full circle, and after being in the industry 30 years and having had 13 licenses in this industry, as insane as that is, it was really because I wanted to gain a lot of competency in all the various disciplines in the financial space. So again, you're not that one trick pony. You're not that hammer that everything looks like a nail. And it allows us to be more solution oriented. And I think that the MMA and the entire Money Max account philosophy helps create that great foundational, because if people aren't more responsible at budgeting, they're not better financial stewards. They don't see ways in which to maximize leverage and float and cash flow. It just creates the ideal environment where more money being made available can now be allocated efficiently and responsibly and redirected in ways that can actually have measurable and accumulated wealth over time. So you're such an absolute, blessing for us, because, we really were looking for there's a lot of people in the space. There's a lot of marketing for it now, and I'm sure some are very legitimate, but we're very high touch, even though our product is very high tech, of course, but it's not like somebody just logs online and purchases access to our program. I mean, there's a real, we do free educational webinars, as you know, every Tuesday, 8:00 Eastern. We'll provide a link for that so that that's something individuals can take advantage of. Obviously, you're one of our affiliate partners, and you have the ability to help create an opportunity where individuals that in your universe, in your unique space, can also log on to a free educational webinar to learn more about it, to see whether or not it's something they'd be eligible for and how that might benefit them, understand a little better how it works, like we've talked about with business credit here today, but for obviously our technology and our methodology. And then have a actual no obligation consultation, get a free savings analysis report. So we're very big into that. We provide ongoing coaching, training, education, and unlimited customer service for life. as we get a little bit older and our life changes, perhaps we lose a parent, we have a child, we start thinking more about contribution and significance and legacy and how we can make a genuine impact. And I think that's why our company's, statement, as you know, is to really help to take back or literally buy back America one family at a time, because debt is most certainly a bondage at all levels. And life is stressful enough, and having financial pressures and a limited sense of hope and optimism about the future can be a death blow. And I'm really proud to say that in many respects, we help to do a great deal to help mitigate a lot of that uncertainty and stress on people and give them renewed hope on what could be possible in their future. And by utilizing tools and strategies as you have to collateralize more capital and be able to direct that money to create long-term financial security and peace of mind and even freedom and wealth is really something truly extraordinary. And it is a passion. So, we encourage everyone, looking forward to having them attend one of our upcoming webinars on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern. And also, we're going to be posting this on our YouTube channel that we just launched recently, a month or so ago, but it's Money Max University. So please, like, follow, subscribe, and engage with the content we're going to continue to put on there to provide these very kind of opportunities. In fact, I think we're going to have a dedicated playlist to a lot of our really specialized affiliates such as yourself, Kyle. So thank you so much again. Genuinely appreciate it, and looking forward to doing some really truly great things together in the upcoming months and years. And thank you again for coming today.